Hey, indie filmmakers, I'm Griffin Hammond.
I'm Nick Bodmer, and today we're talking about the new Panasonic GH6 announcement, which just wrapped up moments ago, Griffin. Moments, hot off the presses.
Yeah, we should point out that this is our first live episode of the podcast, or we're recording it live in front of a Twitch and YouTube and Facebook audience. So let's talk about this camera.
Kind of exciting.
Yeah, so like, what was the top line thing to you, you think? Describe the new GH6. What is it?
I mean, it definitely, good but incremental improvement over the previous cameras, I think. But with a big focus on improved image quality, right? It's got more pixels, 5.4K sensor that it samples down to 4K. 5.7, thank you. And some new dynamic range features, which sound very cool.
Yeah, something called dynamic range boost. Yeah, I mean, the things that jump out to me, I mean, you always expect new resolutions and frame rates on this camera. I mean, the fact that it's a much bigger sensor than before, it's 5.7K wide, so you can crop if you want, or you could, I don't know, you could shoot natively. And what, you could do 5.7K at 60 frames a second, which, like, currently on the GH5 cameras, I like that I can shoot 60 frames a second in 4K, which is great because it's 4K, high resolution, and I can get slow motion if I need it. But the fact that you can do that in 5.7K is great. So now in 4K, you can do 120 frames a second, and I believe you can do 300 frames a second in 1080.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And 1080 is still used all over the place. Like, I use it, sometimes I shoot 1080 for television. We shoot the podcast. Well, actually, we shoot the podcast in 4K, and then we present it in 1080. I stream in 1080, but I would use 300 frames a second to shoot some cool slow-mo and throw it in all these 1080 places that I'm producing
Absolutely.
for. Yeah. And
one of the things that I think you were most excited about is USB-C, all the things, right? Charging and all the USB-C, get into that modern USB-C world.
Well, yeah, a lot of the things that they announced for this camera are things they've tested out on the S1H, their full frame camera, or on the GH5 Mark II. I mean, simple things from the GH5 Mark II, like there's now a red recording frame that you can that pops up. I love that.
We know everybody loves
II.
that. Exactly.
It's such a simple thing. But the GH5 Mark II compared to my GH5 has USB-C that can power it. I love that I'm right now powering my GH5 Mark II as it films me during the stream. I kind of started using these cameras for the stream because they can just be plugged in and not lose any power. So you can power them through USB-C. And tell us about the cool announcement they made that they're apparently going to do with firmware upgrade and USB-C.
Yeah, so you're going to be able to record directly to a USB-C attached SSD, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, that was a big thing that people were hoping for, and it's not going to happen right on launch. I think they said they're shipping this camera about a month from now. It's available now. You can order it right now. They're pricing it right at $2,200, which is
that's a great price point, right?
It's where they've priced all these cameras. I think they've traditionally sold these cameras for $2,000 at launch. So with inflation, this is the same as they've always done. But the reason you would want an SSD over USB-C, which is coming with the next firmware update, is this camera is capable of some pretty high resolutions and frame rates, but also shooting ProRes 422 HQ, which is just going to take up more space. So
a lot more space.
Yeah, you may want to record to an SSD. But tell us about the dual card slots.
Yeah, so it's got your SD card slot like you'd expect, but it has a second card slot, and it's the new CFast cards, which have tremendously more bandwidth, and it sounds like you'll need that for the super high bitrate codecs. Many of the codecs, it's going to let you dual record to both cards at the same time, but there are some codecs in there that are so high quality and such high bitrate that blows through the SD card speeds, and those will just go to your CFast.
And another benefit of having a CF Express card is that even in these normal modes where you may not need it, that you could still write to an SD card, writing to the CF Express card will copy faster to your computer. I mean, I know a lot of people who, for that reason, prefer that media to SD cards. I suppose it will be weird that it's a dual SD card slot, or it's a dual slot, but they're not both SD cards, so you lose that. But you can still do relay.
It's a great transitionary time, right? We can have the old SD cards and we can have the new CFast cards. And I do think you said CF Express, which I think we determined is different than what this is, which is CFast.
Well, I think earlier I was saying compact flash, but I think CF Express is what these are. That's what Matt and Sean from Panasonic were referring to it as.
Okay, so they are not CFast cards then.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're CF Express cards. I mean, let's check the.
Let's check this out. Let's check this out right now.
Let's check the specs on B&H.
Hey, we've got a live chat too. So live chat, help us out.
It's CF Express Type B to be specific.
Gotcha. So where did I get CFast? I don't know.
Well, that's what people in our chat were saying, which I don't know. Maybe that's what people call it.
No, they're different.
It's a different
CF
thing.
Express is different than CFast. So I thought I was correcting
am I right
Griffin,
to call,
but he's correcting me.
Am I right to call CF Express Compact Flash, or is it a different?
I would think that's Compact Flash, but maybe
I think it is. Yeah. So I wasn't crazy. I was just
you were not crazy.
It,
I was
calling. I wasn't calling it the full name before. But yeah, you'll have both. So as Matt and Sean, who work at Panasonic, explained in the live stream, you could still do backup recording and relay recording in many of the modes. It's just in some of those super high. I imagine if you're shooting ProRes, maybe you won't be able to do. If you're shooting 5.7K ProRes, you may not be able to do that to the SD card. We'll see. They also said the firmware update will bring RAW over HDMI. And another thing that was interesting to me is this was one of the rumors, and they confirmed it, was 4-channel audio, which I was confused about when I saw the rumor, because I was like, you're still plugging in the XLR box, which only has 2 mono inputs. So where are these other 2 audio inputs coming from? And it sounds like the 3.5 millimeter jack on the side can bring in 2 more. So you could have like your wireless lavs that go in over 3.5 I suppose if you had an adapter to bring them both in through one stereo port, and then you could also use the XLR1 adapter. What I want to know, and maybe this will be the case or not, is I want to know, can your 3rd and 4th channel be the internal mic on the camera? I don't know that yet.
And I believe they said yes. I thought I heard them in the chat say that yes, you can do that for a scratch or backup or etc.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
How do you think that records though? Is that in the file? Can they somehow do 4-channel audio built right in the file, or is it going to throw a separate WAV file down? Or
I bet it'd be in the file.
Okay.
I mean, I know ProRes can support multiple tracks. Maybe
I've never done that
maybe
before.
A regular MOV file, like an H.264 file, can do it too. They also point out with the audio that it'll be 24-bit audio for people who wanted higher bitrate audio. There's a timecode cable included, which is something the GH5S already did, I believe. And they pointed out there's no crop in any of these modes, no sensor crop. And one of the things they're able to do with this new faster processor is you can now do punch-in manual focusing in 60-frame recording. So that was a limitation on the previous cameras. You could do this, like, if you're in manual focus, you turn the dial to focus, and it punches in the image for you if you want that focus assist. But that would always disappear while recording. So in this camera, you can still do it up to 4K 60. You still have that functionality. Along those lines, they also mentioned in the slow motion modes, in the high frame rate modes, you have autofocus and audio recording, which is something the GH5 couldn't do. That the moment you went into like a high frame rate mode, you would just lose those features. So it sounds like an exciting camera to shoot both high resolution, 5.7K, and also to play around with lots of slow motion. The idea of like recording 300 frames per second and also getting the audio is great. What's like the iPhone's slow motion?
I think it'll do 240 now, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty high. Like,
yeah, I think 240.
like I already get really fun slow motion with the iPhone. It's like the GH5
but
or the GH6 is catching up to
so small, man. It'll be so
Right.
nice because there's just not enough light for that high frame rate stuff. I'm checking right
Well,
now.
that's always the thing about slow motion is that you're cutting your shutter speed down so much that you need more light to capture good looking video. So yeah, if you're shooting slow motion on an iPhone at night, it's not going to look great at all. And because we're live, we can go to our chat. I see a comment from
240,
Ulysses.
240.
Oh, nice. Ulysses on YouTube says a SanDisk 128 gigabyte Extreme Pro CF Express card Type B is $140. And they did point out in their stream about the GH6 that it seems like many retailers, B&H included, will give you a free CF Express card with purchase of a GH6. You know, it actually doesn't say. Does it say which size?
Yeah, it does. It's a 128 Lexar. I just had it pulled up, and now I can't.
Yeah,
find
I see it now. It says a $199 value.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So that's nice.
That's nice to know. They're kind of pricey compared to an SD card, but you can get one free if you order it on B&H or many other retailers.
Sweet. So you ordering one? You getting your pre-order in right now? Firing up those fingers? Wiring up that credit card?
I'm biased, like, you know, I'm a LUMIX ambassador, so like I talk about LUMIX cameras a lot and certainly recommend them. And I, you know, if these specs appeal to you, you should get the GH6. But I probably won't buy one because one, I don't know, Panasonic might give me one. We'll see in the future.
That would be one way to go.
And also, I have the cameras I need. Like, you know, let me get on my soapbox for a minute and say the thing I always say every time a new camera comes out is like, you don't need it. Maybe Panasonic doesn't want to hear me say that, but like you know, when you've graduated beyond the capabilities of your camera, then you should certainly consider this. If you've been in the market for something that you need something that shoots 5.7K or the higher frame rates or the ProRes, then this is a great camera for you and at a relatively nice price point. But you don't need it to tell your story. The camera you have now can do the job.
Always good advice, Griffin. But I think I should buy one, don't you?
Yeah. You've already moved over to Sony.
Maybe this will move me back, you know?
Yeah.
I got to test that autofocus. That's what I'm excited about. They did claim some autofocus improvements. Still not phase detect, but they were talking big about their autofocus. So be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, they're always trying to make software improvements on the autofocus because people don't think it's as good as phase detect. Is that the alternative?
That's right. As opposed to like
so
a
this is still a
detector.
DFD. It's the same style of autofocus that the previous cameras did. The other thing about this camera is, I mean, we should talk about the physical features of it. I mean, some of the weird things on the exterior. It has a record button on the front as well as the top. Like, I guess that's for like filming yourself, that you can just easily see the record button. It also has a tally light on it, so I think there's actually one on the front and the back. So when you're recording, you can very much see your recording. Although I'll say the frame record, just the outline on the screen is a huge deal. It's a bigger camera. I think it's about the same height, but it weighs 15% more than the GH5. It is a little bit thicker in the forward dimension because they added a fan to it. It has an active cooling system. They talked about three things getting really hot in the camera: the sensor, the engine, and the CF Express. Yeah. So this thing has a fan, which I think the S1H has.
And the sensor is being cooled by the chassis, I think they said, not the fan. The fan
Right.
handles the other parts of it. And they said it would only kick on when it really needed it, and it should be basically inaudible, were the comments there. So that's good.
Yeah. And if you take a look at the pictures of this thing, you'll also see it has a new kind of tilt screen where it looks like it can move in all the same directions that the previous one could, except that it will also tilt when it's flat against the back, which is something, if you were looking at the LCD flat against the back of the camera on the GH5, you couldn't move it, you couldn't tilt it up or down. And I think this can maybe do both directions. We'll see. It could certainly do lots of different tilts looking at these pictures.
All the best tilts.
All the best tilts. I noticed in one of the pictures, I think they moved the display button. I don't know if people didn't like where it was or they just had to move it for some other reason. The display button on the back of the camera, I think, is in a different position now.
I'm looking through images myself to see. Oh, that record button is kind of nice and big and shiny.
And they also changed the orientation of the battery. We should talk about the battery. That it's the same battery as the GH5 Mark II. It's a 2200 milliamp battery. And so it's a new style of battery that you can't pop this battery out and pop it into your old GH5, but you can take the old GH5 battery and put it in the new GH6. But it's a higher capacity battery, which is good because this camera clearly is going to be more powerful and drawing on more battery. And then they also kind of shifted the orientation of how it goes into the handle, I guess, to make more space. For the
and I think they did say there are some features, though, that you have to have the new battery in or they won't work.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually like drawing a different amount of power.
So you can use your old batteries in most of the modes, and in some of the modes that are the most... It sounded like it was really a heat issue. The new batteries support a lower voltage, which can actually let them run the camera cooler for some of that crazy high processing stuff. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then people had a lot of questions about the ISO modes, which I don't think the specs talk about.
Yeah, I couldn't find an answer on that. So, and that's one of those things, you know, you're going to see insane ISO numbers on every spec sheet of a camera, right? So the real question is, where is it usable? And it sounds like they've got a pretty great sensor here, but it'll be interesting to see when the review units start hitting some of those really smart camera guys to see what the ISOs look like and what's usable.
And they didn't mention anything about dual native ISO on in the stream. I did see in the rumors about the camera various different native, like, base ISOs, like pretty much depending on which mode you're shooting in. In fact, I mean, one of the rumors made it sound like there were relatively high base ISOs when you're shooting vlog, but we'll see. They talked about this dynamic range boost system, which essentially uses this fast processor. Well, I couldn't tell if it was the processor or if it was the engine. I don't know all these terms, but like it could analyze a pixel twice, once in like a high gain and once in a low gain. So essentially when you turn on dynamic range boost, you were able to get up above 13 stops of dynamic range. It looked like you were able to get like an extra stop of dynamic range above the other without having it turned on.
In both video and photo mode, I believe it's available.
Right.
So,
yeah. So let's see, what else did we miss? We talked about the price. It's shipping next month, pre-orders now. We talked about they're going to add the firmware update in the future for the USB-C connected solid-state drives, RAW over HDMI coming in the firmware update. They did mention that almost all the modes that you're shooting in are 10-bit color. That it's not really like the trade-off on the GH5 camera or the GH5 Mark II where you're picking like, do I want this frame rate or this 10-bit? It's like 10-bit across the board, it sounded like.
They said there were some 8-bit modes, but you really had to dig for them.
Right.
Almost everything was 10-bit.
Yeah. They came in lower than the some of the rumored price points. I mean, I'm sure that's intentional. They leak like, hey, we might sell it for $2,500, but we're selling for $2,200. And I guess I should point out for comparison purposes that this is a 5.7K sensor, which is like 5700 something. I can't remember. It's 5776. Yeah, the actual sensor size is 5776 by 4336. That's the full 25 megapixel sensor for photos. Yeah. The previous camera was like a 20 megapixel camera. And then, oh, my son Peter's here. Let's say hi to everyone. This is what's fun about doing a live podcast episode.
Hi, Peter. How's it
Pete,
going, buddy?
Say hi to Nick.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Pete, are you going to bed soon?
I'm going to bed soon.
You are? Did you already take a bath?
Yes.
That's great. What do you want to tell Nick about the new GH6 camera?
We got a new camera.
We got the new camera?
Well, yeah.
We didn't.
We the world did.
We have all the cameras we need.
We did.
We did. Now it just sounds like I'm lying that I like signed an NDA and I can't tell you that I have this camera.
Hello.
That's a very good mic test, Nick.
That's
Peter.
outstanding. Outstanding.
All right, I love you, Peter. You want to wave goodbye to Nick?
Bye.
Bye, Pete.
Have a good night, Pete. I love you.
Bye.
That was very nice. We were talking about the sensor size. I think when you're shooting 16:9, that's 5776 across, and it's 3248 tall. So yeah,
Is what it's sampling from and taking it down to 4K.
Well, you could shoot the full 5.7K,
Right.
Or
right.
yeah, if you're shooting 4K, then it would sample.
But it's not
from
a crop when you go to 4K, which is
That's
nice.
right. Yeah. And like, you know, it's 1.5x wider than UHD, or it's more than 2 times the pixels. So it's 2.26x clarity. So it actually, like, it doesn't sound like a lot more than 4K, but it really is. It's more than twice the pixels, and then it's significantly wider. So you can do some cropping in post if you need to.
It's awesome.
Though I will say, I mean, you'll have to test it out. When I'm shooting in 4K, I guess there probably have been times that I've cropped all the way down to 1080, but I just generally feel more comfortable like doing a 20 or 50% crop. I'm not usually doing like a full like
Right.
100%.
You feel like you
crop.
can see that.
Yeah,
And
like
did we say
you have the
when
pixels,
you're in that,
but you're still going to lose some clarity from cropping.
in that 5.7K mode, do we know what the frame rate is that it can do there? I missed that.
Yeah, it can do 60.
It can do 60. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I mean, right now you can do 4K 60 on a GH5, but you can do 5.7K 60. And like we said, you can do 120 frames a second in 4K, which
That's
is
awesome.
really nice. But yeah, otherwise it's nothing like you said, nothing earth-shattering. Like when the GH5 added image stabilization in body, that was like a big change. Or when the GH4 was the first 4K in the series. Although I guess, you know, jumping from 1080 to 4K, jumping from 4K to 5.7K is about the same in terms
Yeah, it's
of...
kind of, when you look at any one camera and its immediate predecessor, it's like, okay, a few nice improvements. But like, I'm assuming most people who have the GH5 Mark II are not the ones that are the main market. But we had some people in the chat saying, you know, they're on a GH3. If you go from a GH3 to a GH6, that is a massive, mind-blowing difference in terms of image quality and modes and, you know, light gathering ability and things like that. So just a good march forward, right?
Yeah. Well, as long as we're live, we should go to the chat and see what questions we have. Ulysses wants to know if it has a full-size HDMI output and if it has waveform and vector. Yes, it's a full-size HDMI port, the same as what the GH5 has. And then, yeah, I mean, you could certainly do a histogram. I don't know. Well, I feel like they added like waveform and vectors in the GH5.
They said something about that. I'm looking for it. Scopes and assists, waveform monitor, vector scope, and luminance spot meter are available.
Yeah, I feel like they added some of these features in the GH5 Mark II. And that, I mean, it kind of seems like everything they put in the GH5 Mark II is probably making its way to the GH6 as well. Graham says, I just got here. Does it do 4K 120? It does. Yes,
it does.
So you can double your existing frame rate, which is fun. I mean, like, a lot of people don't need to shoot 5.7K. Keep shooting 4K, but do it at a super frame rate. Although, what's the challenge of that? You're going to...
Shutter speed.
You're going to see more flicker.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't if the lights are matching, but, you know, we all know it happens. There's flicker that you encounter in high frame rates when certain lights don't work the way they're supposed to. And Rhett wants to know if all micro four thirds lenses will work with the GH6. I don't see why not. They haven't changed the size of the sensor. It is a new sensor, packs more pixels in, but it takes up the same amount of space.
Yep.
It's not like it sticks out further or something. So it's the same mount. And my Gmail wants to know, why does your video look like a webcam?
Well, hopefully for our regular viewers, it does not. But for our live viewers, yes. I'm talking with Griffin over Zoom. So you're seeing Griffin's end of the Zoom conversation screen captured into OBS, which, it's multiple stages of lossy compression happening there probably.
Right. I mean, we could do more live podcast episodes, but this will be the challenge to overcome, is figure out how to... I mean, to me, this is the cleanest solution, but I don't know. There's got to be a way to get a cleaner...
Send you a higher quality
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody shared one with us during our last episode or something, or during a live stream. I forget what it was, but we didn't have time to look into it.
Yeah. Oh, Red actually meant 4/3 lenses, not micro 4/3. I mean, there's always been adapters, right? So, like, I would think so. I would think you could just use the 4/3 adapter to micro, and it would work fine. My Gmail also wants to know, this is a good question for you, Nick. The real question is, should I upgrade from the GH5? What do you think?
Well, if it's me, yeah, I would upgrade. But I have a tendency to upgrade things too quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Nick is a quick upgrade. Well, because you always sell your stuff. I mean, you could...
Yeah, I mean, if there's a feature in here that you don't have that would make a noticeable impact on your work, absolutely. Spend the money, get your upgrade. I have a feeling for a lot of people, the GH5, it's not necessary. But necessary isn't necessarily the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if 5.7K could be really useful for special effects work, for green screen, for punching in. You may really want the ProRes recording to get just an easier to edit file, a cleaner file. But like I said, I'm easy to please. The GH5 does so much of what I need, and we should always remind you that your audience will never get to see the film you shot in 4K and then also get to see it in 5.7K and go, I really do prefer the 5.7K ProRes version. Like, you can play around with a new camera and see what cool things it can do, but 98% of the people that are going to watch your end product will not care whether you shot this on Panasonic or Sony or which sensor size you shot it on. It's fun to talk about, but it really doesn't matter ultimately in storytelling.
I think Eric's comment is right on here. Wait and see what the reviewers see. If we get a big jump forward in autofocus or something like that, I mean, that's a no-brainer upgrade, right? That's awesome.
And at its price point, it's an easy upgrade. Like, if Panasonic came out with some new crazy camera and they were like, it's $4,000, everyone would be like, well, I don't know what to do. But the fact that they price it at exactly what all GH cameras have always been, they're saying it's very accessible. I mean, if you're going to go out and buy a new camera today, it's a great choice.
Totally agree.
And then Joe Ayala is wondering about the autofocus. That was one thing they didn't talk about much, which, I think we know that people are disappointed or are going to act disappointed that it's not a completely different autofocus system, that it's still DFD. I heard some rumors about it being like AI improved, but they didn't talk about that in the live stream, so I'm not sure that's true. They certainly did say that it has a lot of improvements, that it works a lot better than the GH5, which I've experienced that. Like when they said the GH5 Mark II has better autofocus, it does, but it doesn't make everyone happy when they don't say it's a completely different technology. Dr. Matt Zapp is actually recommending OBS Ninja to bring in your video in a cleaner way.
Oh, for a remote?
Oh, and Film Designs on Twitch has a real dig at you. Says Nick usually has dodgy lighting anyway, so we sort of expect it.
Wow.
That's rude.
Dude. I got all my lights back out. They were all put away because we're selling our house. We were showing it, and I did a lot of work. I got multiple lights on, and, man, throwing shade.
Yeah, I like your lighting,
Not
Nick.
cool. Not cool. All right.
Hey, I want to answer more questions, but I think first we should take a quick sponsor break.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to play some really fun music that you found
I did.
on our sponsor's website, Jambox. So tell me about this song, Nick.
Well, I was listening to some of their playlists. So they've got great playlists that help you kind of find music, and that's always my toughest task, is trying to actually dig through and find this music. And when I heard this one, I immediately thought, this is from my MKBHD tech videos, right? I mean, you get that kind of cool tech electronic vibe.
Yeah, I don't know what you call this kind of music, like synthwave, chill wave. I like it a lot.
It's chill, but it's fun. It's got some energy to it. Well, yeah. So I found this one and went, yeah, I could see throwing this in a video, a tech video.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, last episode we played like my really crazy Batman epic music that I found on Jambox, but this is much more practical. I could actually use this, and in fact, I did use this at the beginning of this live stream.
Perfect.
So yeah, if you want to peruse the Jambox library as well, you can do that for free right now. You can go to jambox.io. But if you want to subscribe and use the same platform that we've been using to put music in our videos, we have a 15% off coupon that you can use as a Hey Indie Filmmakers listener. It's just Hey15. Use that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a low monthly fee, and then you can use as much music as you want, put it in all your videos. You get a real license so that, somebody comes a knocking, you can say, nope, here's my project, here's my license file. This is fully vetted. It's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and we
Jambox.
love having a sponsor that lets us play cool music in our ad breaks.
Podcast. That's right.
Thank you, Jambox. All right, let's see what other questions we have from our live stream before we cut this off for the night. Talk to the Microphone wants to know, what setup are you using to stream? So this is OBS, the software that I'm using, and I've been using that to stream on Twitch recently. It's been a lot of fun to play with. And this setup is pretty simple. It's just the existing divider line that I use in the edit anyway. And then I have some Elgato cam links to bring in this shot, and I also have a cutaway here so I can show you a camera.
Very fancy. And I like that you replicated the podcast view.
Yeah. I accidentally just started playing our intro music again.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
That's the mistake I made using OBS. And then we mentioned a minute ago, I'm bringing in Nick through Zoom right now, which works, but doesn't look amazing.
So we're going to look into some other options, if I'm ever allowed on a live stream again. I don't know. Griffin might be like, no, Nick, I think that was probably enough. Although you did say it was your most viewers ever for a live stream.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. You're welcome.
Eric Fakardzadon on YouTube points out an important comparison here. Clearly, if we're talking about a 5.7K camera, we should be looking at the Blackmagic 6K camera, because he says if you go to the Blackmagic camera for that high quality, but being a hybrid shooter, this or the S1H seem like it would fit my bill better. Yeah, I didn't even really think about that. Like, there's a lot of great reasons to go to the Blackmagic camera, but it's not a photo camera, I suppose. But I think you could make an argument that there's plenty of things that camera can do better than a GH6 could, on paper at least. I've just been comfortable with the Lumix cameras though. So I see a comment from Eric that says, "Wait, this is not a sponsor about jam for my lunches. It's not that kind of jam box.
It's not a jelly of the month club."
Right, it's not a lunch box with different jellies to try.
Griffin, I do have some exciting personal news here in the Bodmer household I could share with the audience.
Oh yeah, I want to hear it.
All right. This is our newest thing right here. Let's see if we can get that to focus. No, Let me take my...
Oh, there you go. Now it works.
there we go. We got a puppy.
When it was out of focus, I was like, this looks like a baby. And I was like, I know you don't have a new baby. That's Lucy the dog.
That's Lucy. She's an English bulldog. And so that's what we've been up to over here.
Well, you're instantly getting a huge response. Film Designs on Twitch says, "Oh, very cute." Crash Landon says, "Oh my, OMG, too cute."
Puppies are always a winner. Griffin, you
this is
you
something.
don't have a puppy.
No, I'm not a dog person.
You just
I don't
want to
deal with all that, like taking animals outside.
Yeah, we do need to feature Lucy. Film Designs. I agree. We'll bring her in someday.
I noticed from the comments coming in about how cute your puppy is that Twitch is always faster than YouTube. I'm not sure why, but I also notice it in the. I mean, not only are people responding first in Twitch because they're clearly seeing us first, but when the video is done, Twitch, I think, makes it available immediately. And I think YouTube takes some time to like re-encode it.
Process it, yeah.
Yeah. So if you came to this late and you're looking for where to like start from the beginning, Twitch may be the place to do it when we get to the end.
Talking about the setup for the stream, so I'm connected over Zoom and you're using OBS, but, we were sharing the Panasonic live stream video as part of our stream. And what was odd to me is since I didn't have audio for that portion coming back to me over Zoom, I was watching the Panasonic live stream just in a separate browser tab. And I was a good 15 seconds behind you, even from what I was seeing. I wonder why that would be. I kept refreshing it, hoping I would catch up, and it was giving me a little bit of trouble because you'd like laugh at something, and I'd have to wait 10 seconds to figure it out. And I never knew if I was like interrupting something important when I wanted to talk. So,
well,
what's
more
interesting? Things to work out.
This may even be how YouTube processes these videos. Is that I was using like. This was actually kind of a challenge for this video, for this simulcast for us to do live commentary. It was figuring out how to get the video into OBS. I could have just done like a screen capture, but I figured like that's not the way to do this. So I did it as a browser source, and I used like pretty much if you like go to a YouTube video and you click share and then go to the embed link, it's a different link. It's like youtube.com/embed and then like the video ID. And then I added some qualifiers to like remove the controls and do various things like that.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if I noticed the same thing, that OBS was showing the video quicker ahead of time from where like my browser was showing the same video. So I wonder if YouTube like serves up the embeds before it serves up the.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. But that was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, but it was fun to do that. It worked really well to just like have a YouTube video in OBS and we're talking about it. That was kind of like, I wanted to test out this concept because I thought it'd be fun to like, like do live commentary on top of like an Apple event or like on top of a SpaceX launch or, not all of these things are like our expertise. A GH camera launch is exactly the kind of thing we should be doing live commentary on. Well, I think that that covers what we wanted to talk about today. This was fun doing a live podcast. I appreciate everyone sticking with us for this
the
like
live
full
chat's
2 hour.
Impressive. I mean, they were all over it. That makes it a lot of fun. So thanks, guys and gals.
Yeah, the fun thing about having a live chat is that we can make mistakes in the podcast and then people can correct us while we're doing it. Yeah, I mean, here's one right now from Eric who says, and yes, Griffin, the Blackmagics have superior codecs, or at least the RAW, but not the easiest to travel with. I like more cinematic shooting, but the light load of travel, videographer, photographer. Oh yeah, I guess, what is the Blackmagic? Like an EF mount or something? It's not a Micro Four Thirds mount. It's a bigger glass, perhaps.
And the Blackmagic is not really a still camera, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have friends that swear by that camera. Like, I mean, you should seriously consider that camera or the GH6 if you're looking at things like ProRes and RAW and 5.7K and all that.
All right, my friend. I think we did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
really want
I
to
think-
pat us on the back.
I think we're
putting this
real
GH6
experts.
camera together. We basically solved all the problems. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you soon, Nick, and thank you everyone for watching on Twitch and YouTube. And if you're not following me on Twitch, you should at twitch.tv/Griffin Hammond. What's your Twitch handle, Nick?
We did this last time. It is twitch.tv/ampsonic, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
AMPSONIC. And I've been telling Griffin we need to do some video game streaming together where, I beat him at a shooting game or something. I think that'd be fun. So you guys got to tell him we need to do that because I don't think he's too excited about it. So let him know. Thank you.
I'm not excited about getting shot at.
That's right. Okay, then we can play chess.
we should.
And I'll beat you at chess instead.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun too.
You are much better at chess.
I don't know. You're smarter than me, so it'd be funny if I've been playing chess for a year and then you just come in and kick my butt anyway. I'm not very good at it, so. Tic-tac-toe. Yeah, checkers maybe. Checkers.
All right,
my friend.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
I'll
Nick.
talk to you guys later.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
later. Bye. Let's say hi to Nick. Nick, can you hear me? I don't know if he knows that he's on right now. Hi, Nick. Can you hear me?